The wind howled through the ruins of what was once a great civilization. The twin moons hung low in the violet sky, casting eerie shadows across the jagged landscape. I could still taste the iron in the air. Whether it was from my own wounds or the planet itself, I wasn't sure. I was alone, or at least I thought I was. My ship had crashed 2 days ago, leaving me stranded on this uncharted world. Oxygen was running low, rations almost depleted. Every breath felt heavier than the last. And yet, as I staggered through the ruins, something told me I wasn't the only one here. I could feel it, a presence, watching. Then I heard it, a soft whisper, barely audible over the wind. You are the only one who understands me, human. I spun around, my pulse hammering in my ears. She stood before me, tall, armored, and otherworldly. Her skin shimmered with a metallic hue, reflecting the dim glow of the moons. Her piercing, luminescent eyes locked onto mine, studying me as though searching for an answer to an unspoken question. A long, curved blade hung from her hip, but she made no move for it. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then I found my voice. Who are you? She stepped forward, the ground beneath her feet vibrating with an unnatural hum. Her movements were deliberate, measured, like a warrior sizing up her opponent. And yet, something in her gaze told me she wasn't here to kill me. Not yet. My name is Emma, she said, her voice both commanding and strangely weary. And you, human, are not supposed to be here. I swallowed hard. Yeah, well, wasn't exactly my plan to crash land on an alien battlefield. Emma tilted her head slightly, as if amused by my response. But the amusement faded as quickly as it had come. You do not belong in this war, she continued. But now that you are here, you must listen. Because if you don't, her eyes darkened. You will die. My chest tightened. What do you mean? What war? She let out a slow breath. You think you're the first human to step foot on this planet? I hesitated. As far as I know, yes. Emma shook her head. Then you know nothing. She turned her back to me and gazed up at the twin moons. This planet, it was once a home to many. A place of peace, of knowledge. Until the war came. Until my people were betrayed. Something about the way she spoke sent a chill down my spine. You're saying your own people betrayed you? She turned to face me again, her expression unreadable. Not just me, all of us. A sudden gust of wind kicked up the dust around us, and in that moment I realized the truth. She wasn't just another alien warrior. She was a fugitive, an outcast, and for some reason, she thought I was the only one who could understand her. I wasn't sure if that made me her ally or her next target. But one thing was certain, whatever I had just walked into, there was no turning back now. The wind howled through the ruins, carrying the scent of burning metal and something else. Something ancient, something almost alive. The sky above us was a deep shade of violet, fractured by streaks of distant lightning. This place wasn't just another planet. It was a graveyard. And standing before me was the only thing that moved in this wasteland, Emma. Her presence was overwhelming, not just because of her height, easily a head taller than me, but because of the sheer intensity in her eyes. Those glowing, silver blue irises locked onto mine, filled with something I couldn't quite place. Was it sorrow? Resentment? Hope? Her voice echoed in my mind again. You are the only one who understands me, human. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. The words should have confused me, should have made me question everything, but instead they sent a chill down my spine. Because deep down, in a way I couldn't explain, I felt like she was right. I took a cautious step forward, raising my hands slightly to show I wasn't a threat. What do you mean by that? I asked. I don't even know you. Emma didn't move. She just stared as if she was waiting for something. Finally, after a long silence, she spoke again. You don't know me, but you know my kind. I frowned. That's impossible. Humanity has never made contact with. She cut me off with a sharp glare. Do not lie to yourself. There was something in her voice, something that struck deep. A certainty, a truth I hadn't yet grasped. I shook my head. I don't understand. You're saying I've met aliens before? Her jaw tightened. She turned slightly, looking up at the darkened sky. Not you, but your kind. Long before you were born, long before you had the words to describe us, humans and my people were connected. I exhaled sharply, trying to make sense of what she was saying. That doesn't make any sense. If humans had made contact with an alien race, we'd have records, she interrupted. A history? Proof. She took a step closer, and I felt my muscles tense. Tell me, human, how much of your own past has been erased? How much do your leaders truly tell you? The way she said it sent a shiver down my spine. I wanted to argue, to tell her she was wrong, that humanity would have remembered something as monumental as first contact. But the way she spoke, the certainty in her voice, it was as if she knew something I didn't. And that terrified me. All right, I said slowly, trying to keep my voice steady. Let's say, for a second, that you're right. Let's say humans and your people have some kind of hidden history. That still doesn't explain why you think I, of all people, understand you. Emma's eyes darkened. Because you're not like the others. I felt a lump form in my throat. What does that mean? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached into a small pouch at her side and pulled out a small metallic device. She pressed a button on its surface, and suddenly, a projection flickered to life in front of me. I gasped. It was Earth. Not just an image of Earth, but a moving, living display. Clouds shifting across its surface, lights glowing from its cities. But there was something else. A structure. A massive, alien construct floating just beyond the planet's atmosphere. I took an involuntary step forward, my heart hammering. What is this? Emma studied me carefully. Your world, as it was seen by my ancestors. I shook my head, disbelief crashing over me. This isn't possible. Humanity never. She turned off the projection and stepped even closer. Stop lying to yourself. Her voice was softer now, almost pleading. You feel it, don't you? I didn't want to admit it, but she was right. Ever since I set foot on this planet, there had been a nagging sensation in the back of my mind. A feeling that I knew this place, even though I had never been here before. It was like a memory I couldn't access, a dream I had long forgotten. Emma sighed. I have spent my life searching for the truth. My people refused to listen. They would rather destroy than remember. But you see it too, don't you? I hesitated. I don't know what I see. She nodded slowly, as if she expected my answer. Then let me show you. Before I could react, she reached out and pressed 2 fingers against my forehead. And suddenly, everything changed. A flood of images, memories that weren't mine, thoughts and voices I had never heard before. A ship crashing through the sky. Flames licking at the edges of my vision. Screams. A battle I had never fought. A war I had never seen. And then, darkness. A feeling of being forgotten. Lost. And a voice. A single, echoing whisper that sent chills through my entire body. Find a human. The one who will remember. I stumbled backward, gasping for air as Emma pulled her fingers away. My legs nearly gave out, and I had to steady myself against a broken pillar. My head was spinning. What was that? I whispered. Emma's gaze softened. A piece of the truth. I looked up at her, my breath still ragged. That wasn't my memory. She nodded. No, it was mine. The weight of her words settled over me like a stone. Whatever I had just seen, whatever I had just felt, it meant she wasn't lying. It meant I had been wrong about everything. And most terrifying of all, it meant I wasn't just some lost human on an alien planet. I was part of something much bigger. The air around us felt heavier after what I had just experienced. My body still trembled from the flood of memories or visions Emma had forced into my mind. My breathing was ragged, my heart pounding against my ribs like it was trying to escape. I looked at her, struggling to process what had just happened. How did you do that? Emma's glowing eyes watched me carefully, as if measuring my reaction. My kind does not experience time the way humans do. Memories are not bound to the past. They exist all at once. I merely let you see what was already there. I swallowed hard. What was already there? No, that wasn't mine. That was yours. She nodded. Yes, but it is a memory that concerns you more than you realize. I shook my head, trying to steady myself. The images still burned behind my eyes, flashes of destruction, of war, of something buried deep within me that I didn't understand. I took a step back. I don't know what you expect me to do with this information, but I'm just a human. I'm nobody special. If you're looking for a hero, you've got the wrong guy. Emma's expression darkened. You are exactly who I have been searching for. Before I could respond, the ground trembled beneath us. A low rumble echoed through the ruins, sending a chill up my spine. Emma's posture tensed, her hand instinctively reaching for the curved blade at her hip. Something was coming. She turned toward the shadows stretching between the massive stone pillars, her body coiled like a predator ready to strike. We need to leave. Now. I hesitated. Why? What's happening? Her glowing eyes darted to mine. They found us. I barely had time to process her words before the first explosion hit. A blast of energy erupted from the darkness, striking a nearby column and shattering it into molten fragments. The force sent me sprawling backward, my ears ringing from the impact. Emma barely flinched. In one fluid motion, she unsheathed her blade and spun toward the direction of the attack, her stance low and ready. I scrambled to my feet just as figures emerged from the darkness. They were unlike anything I had ever seen, tall, armored beings with segmented exoskeletons that gleamed under the eerie twin moons. Their faces were hidden behind smooth, featureless helmets, except for a single glowing red slit where their eyes should have been. There were 3 of them, moving in perfect unison, their weapons humming with energy. Emma's grip on her blade tightened. They are hunters, enforcers of the war I spoke of. She glanced at me. They do not ask questions. They do not take prisoners. I swallowed hard. Great. Any chance they just want to talk? Emma didn't answer. She lunged. Her movements were impossibly fast. One moment she was beside me. The next she was a blur of motion, her blade carving through the air with deadly precision. The first enemy barely had time to react. Emma's sword slashed clean through its armor, sending a spray of glowing liquid cascading onto the cracked ground. The creature staggered back, its body twitching violently before collapsing. The other 2 didn't hesitate. One of them raised its arm, and a pulse of red energy shot toward Emma. She twisted out of the way just in time, the blast searing through the air where she had been standing a second ago. I realized, far too late, that I was still standing there. The second pulse was aimed at me. I had no time to think, no time to react. I braced myself, and then Emma was there. She slammed into me, knocking me to the ground as the energy pulse ripped past, scorching the ground behind us. Before I could even catch my breath, she was already back on her feet, her blade flashing in the moonlight as she parried another attack. I lay there for a moment, my mind racing. I had no weapon, no training, no idea how to survive this. Emma was the warrior, the one who had spent her life fighting. I was just a scientist, a survivor of a crash, a human who had no place in this war. But she had saved me, twice. And if I didn't do something now, she was going to die trying to protect me. I forced myself to move. My eyes darted across the battlefield, searching for anything I could use. My gaze landed on a chunk of broken alien metal near my feet. It was jagged, sharp on one end. Not a weapon, but better than nothing. I grabbed it and ran. The second enemy had Emma locked in combat, its weapon humming as it tried to overpower her. She was fast, but they were relentless, and she was outnumbered. The third enemy was moving in behind her, its weapon raised. She didn't see it. I did. I didn't think. I just acted. With everything I had, I swung the jagged metal straight into the enemy's side. There was a sickening crack as the armor split open, the creature letting out a distorted, inhuman screech. Its weapon clattered to the ground as it stumbled, its body convulsing. Emma wasted no time. She whirled around, her blade slicing clean through the enemy's throat. Silence. The bodies lay motionless on the ground, their glowing blood pooling beneath them. The air was thick with the smell of burning metal and ozone. Emma turned to me, her expression unreadable. You fought. I let out a shaky breath, still gripping the broken metal. Yeah, I guess I did. She studied me for a moment, then nodded. Good. I swallowed. So who the hell were they? Emma wiped her blade clean against her armor. Loyalists. Enforcers of my people's ruling faction. They hunt those who resist. Those who still remember. I frowned. Remember what? Emma's gaze met mine, and for the first time, I saw something in her eyes that I hadn't before. Fear. She turned away, looking out into the ruins. They will send more. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my nerves. Then what do we do? She was quiet for a long moment. Then, finally she spoke. We run. Her voice was low, determined, and we find the truth before they bury it forever. I glanced at the bodies one last time before nodding. Whatever I had just gotten myself into, there's no turning back now. The ruins stretched before us, a silent reminder of the destruction that had already swept through this world. The once grand structures, now crumbling and fractured, had been reduced to nothing more than decaying memories. It was a battlefield, a place that held secrets too dangerous for any of us to understand. Emma didn't waste time. She moved with purpose, her eyes constantly scanning the environment, as though the shadows themselves were waiting to strike. I followed her, my footsteps heavy, my mind racing. The fight with the Loyalists was over, but the battle for my own survival had only just begun. I glanced at her, this fierce, seemingly untouchable warrior. What was it that had brought me here? Why had she singled me out? She had mentioned something earlier about me being different. She had seen something in me. But what? I wasn't a soldier. I wasn't a hero. I was a scientist, a man who had no business being in the middle of an alien war. And yet here I was. Emma glanced back at me, her expression unreadable. Stay close. Her voice was sharp, cutting through the silence that had settled between us. She wasn't looking at me, but I could sense the tension in her tone. She was preparing for something, something I couldn't yet see. I nodded, doing my best to keep up with her pace. My body was sore from the earlier battle, my mind still reeling from the strange visions I had seen. I had seen her memories. But why? Why had I been the one to see them? What happened to your people? I asked, breaking the silence as we walked. Emma didn't stop. It's complicated. Complicated? I repeated, my voice rising in frustration. You can't just tell me that. You just showed me these visions, and I don't even know what to think anymore. What is it that you're not telling me? She stopped walking, her back still turned to me. For a moment, I thought she wasn't going to answer. But then she spoke, her voice low, almost reluctant. There was a time when my people were not warriors. We were explorers, scientists, engineers, philosophers. We sought peace with the other races in the galaxy. We built civilizations, traded knowledge, and shared the wonders of the universe. She paused, her hand resting on the hilt of her blade. The cold metal gleamed in the dim light, a reminder of the life she now led. But there was always a faction among us that wanted more. Power. Control. They wanted to dominate. They believed that our superiority was meant to be enforced by force, by fear. And over time, they won. I frowned. Won? How'd they win? The war was slow at first, she continued, her tone flat, almost detached. But it grew. The ruling faction rose to power, using force to crush anyone who opposed them. The peaceful ones, like me, were hunted down, labeled as traitors. We were forced into hiding. I could feel the weight of her words, the bitterness that clung to them. Emma wasn't just a warrior. She was the last of her kind, a relic from a time that had been erased. But why me? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Why do you think I understand you? She turned to face me then, her eyes locking onto mine. There was something in her gaze that made my chest tighten. It wasn't just the intensity. It was the vulnerability that flashed behind her cold exterior. For a moment, she seemed almost human. You are the key, Brian. The words hit me like a physical blow. The key. I repeated, confusion flooding my thoughts. To what? To the truth, Emma said, stepping closer. To stopping the war, to restoring what was lost. You're the one who can help us. I shook my head, disbelief flashing across my face. I'm just a scientist. I don't have any military experience. I don't know anything about your war or your people. You're asking the wrong person. Emma's expression hardened, her gaze unwavering. I've been searching for someone who could understand us for someone who still had the ability to listen. And you're the one who will restore what we've lost. I backed away, my hands raised in defense. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not a hero, Emma. I'm just a man trying to survive. She stepped forward, her voice almost pleading. You don't realize it, but you are. You have something they don't. Something that's been lost to my people. The ability to see beyond the surface, to look deeper. The ability to empathize, to remember. I swallowed hard. Empathize? With you? With a species I know nothing about? Emma nodded. Yes. My people lost that ability long ago. When the war began, we stopped seeing one another as equals, as individuals. We became tools, pawns in a war that we didn't want. But you, Brian, you still have the ability to connect, to see us as more than just soldiers, more than just enemies. I was silent for a moment, my mind racing. I didn't know what she was talking about. I was a simple man, a man of logic and reason. I had never seen the world through the eyes of a warrior, let alone an alien. But there was something in her words, something in her desperation that resonated deep within me. What if you're wrong? I asked quietly. What if I can't help? What if I'm just caught in something bigger than me? Emma's gaze softened, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of something else in her eyes. Trust. If you're caught, Brian, then so am I. But we're not alone. She paused, and her voice grew more intense. There are others like me, who still fight for the truth, who still remember. Together, we can stop this war. We can remind my people of who they really are. I looked at her, truly seeing her for the first time, not just as a warrior, not just as an alien, but as a woman who had lost everything. A woman who was clinging to the faintest hope that she could restore what had been taken from her. Her people weren't just fighting a war. They were fighting for their very identity. I felt a surge of something deep inside me. Something I couldn't quite explain. Maybe it was empathy. Maybe it was the realization that I had been wrong all along. I wasn't just here by accident. I wasn't just a human lost on an alien planet. I had a purpose. I didn't know how I would help. I didn't know what I could do to stop a war that had torn Emma's people apart. But I knew one thing for certain. I couldn't turn my back on her now. I'll help you, I said, my voice firm despite the fear gnawing at my insides. I don't know how, but I'll help you. Emma's face softened for the briefest of moments, and in that instant, I saw the warrior within her crack just a little. It wasn't much, but it was enough. She nodded. Then we'll begin. And for the first time since I crashed on this planet, I felt like I wasn't alone. The silence between us was palpable as we continued our journey deeper into the ruins. Each step I took felt heavier than the last. The weight of Emma's words, the responsibility she was placing on my shoulders, gnawed at me. She believed I was the key to ending her people's war. But I was just a man who had stumbled into a conflict that spanned galaxies, a conflict that I couldn't even begin to understand. But Emma wasn't giving me a choice. She had already decided that I was important, that I was going to help her. And though I didn't have any idea how, I couldn't ignore the urgency in her voice. There was something deep inside me, something I couldn't explain, that told me she wasn't wrong. As we moved through the broken cityscape, I noticed how the world around us seemed to pulse with life, even though it appeared deserted. The ruined buildings, the shattered streets, everything seemed to hold a history, a memory of a time before all of this destruction. It was as if the planet itself was trying to remember, trying to hold on to something that had been lost. Emma walked ahead of me, her every step purposeful. I could tell she wasn't just navigating the physical space around her. She was navigating something deeper. A part of her, maybe the only part of her that hadn't been broken by the war, was still clinging to a hope that things could be different, that peace was possible, that her people could once again be what they were before everything fell apart. We reached the edge of what appeared to be a once grand structure, an ancient temple of sorts. The building was crumbled, its entrance partially blocked by debris, but there was something in its design that caught my attention. It was different from anything I'd seen on Earth, or even in the other parts of the alien world we had passed through. The symbols etched into the walls were intricate, almost beautiful, as if they were trying to convey a message that went beyond language, beyond time. This is where it began, Emma said, her voice low, almost reverent. She stopped in front of the temple's broken entrance, her hand resting lightly on the stone. This is where my people were once united, where the peace was made, but also where it all fell apart. I stepped closer, drawn to the strange markings on the walls. They seemed to shimmer, as if they were alive, as if the stone itself was trying to communicate. I reached out to touch them, and as soon as my fingers made contact, a pulse of energy shot through my hand, vibrating on my arm. My heart skipped a beat, and I pulled my hand away quickly, staring at the wall in shock. "Did you feel that?" I asked, my voice tight with surprise. Emma didn't turn to look at me. She already knew. Yes, that's the power of the Temple of Unity. It's not just a place, it's a living memory, a connection to the past, to the first days when we tried to bring peace to the galaxy. I took a step back, still processing what had just happened. Living memory? You mean it's like a device? A machine of some kind? No, Emma said, finally turning to face me. Her eyes were intense, filled with something I hadn't seen in her before: vulnerability. It's not a machine. It's the essence of who we were. Before the war, before the corruption. She took a deep breath and walked closer to the entrance. The walls seemed to pulse again as she approached, almost as if they recognized her, as if they were welcoming her back. Before everything changed, this temple was a place of gathering, a place where our leaders came together to share knowledge, to share wisdom, to build a future for all of us. It wasn't about power, it was about understanding. But the faction that rose to power saw that as weakness. They saw peace as something to be conquered. And so, they destroyed this place. They destroyed the connection to our past. I was silent for a moment, my mind spinning with everything she had just shared. So, the war wasn't just about control. It was about erasing everything that came before, erasing who you were. Emma nodded. Exactly. And they succeeded. Over time, the memories of peace, of unity, faded away. The war became all-consuming. And now, all that remains are the scars of what was lost. Her words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of history. I looked at the temple again, the ancient structure now seeming even more tragic than before. It wasn't just a ruin. It was a grave, a tomb for the ideals that had once been the foundation of Emma's civilization. I stepped closer to Emma. "So what happens now? How do we fix this?" Emma turned toward me, her face softening for the first time since we'd met. "We find the key that unlocks the memories of my people, the key that will show them who they truly are and remind them of the peace we once had." I frowned. "And you think that key is here, in this temple?" She nodded. "Yes, the Temple of Unity is where our ancestors stored the knowledge, the truth, everything we need to remember. But it's been hidden, protected, for fear that those who control the war would destroy it completely." I felt a surge of determination. I didn't know exactly what I was getting into or how we were going to get through the dangers that lay ahead, but I knew one thing for certain. Emma was right. The world she came from deserved better than to be consumed by this endless conflict. And if I could help her unlock that truth, then maybe, just maybe, we could turn the tide. "So how we find it?" I asked, glancing around at the crumbling temple. "Where do we start?" Emma's expression darkened, and she stepped closer to me. "There's more to the temple than meets the eye. The true knowledge is hidden deep inside, and only those with the right connection, those who still carry the memories, can access it." I met her gaze, uncertainty swirling in my chest. "So, you think I can access it? That I'm somehow connected to this?" Emma nodded. "Yes, I can feel it. The memories are buried deep inside you, Brian, the same way they are buried in me. You just have to trust that they're there, waiting to be unlocked." My heart raced. How do I unlock them? What if I can't? What if I don't have what it takes? Emma took my hand, her grip firm but gentle. "You do. I know you do. You've already seen the truth, even if you don't understand it yet. It's in you, and I'm here to help you find it." I swallowed hard, nodding slowly. The fear was still there, deep inside me, but there was something else now, a sense of purpose, of determination. I had a role to play in this. I had to believe that, not just for Emma, but for everyone who had suffered because of the war. "All right, I said, my voice steady despite the uncertainty. Let's do this. Emma's expression softened. Thank you, Brian. Together, we can save what's left of my people. With that, she turned back to the entrance of the temple. Her hand brushed the wall again, and the energy pulsed once more. This time, I stepped forward with her, determined to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The door to the temple creaked open, and as we stepped inside, I felt the air shift around us. The weight of the past, of all the memories buried in this place, pressed down on me. We had a long journey ahead of us, and I had no idea what would happen next. But I knew this much. The truth was out there, waiting to be uncovered, and I was ready to find it. The air inside the temple was thick with an unsettling energy. The further we ventured into its depths, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. It wasn't just the crumbled stone walls or the weight of the memories that filled the place. It was something else, something ancient. As if the temple itself was alive, breathing, waiting. I followed Emma closely, trying to make sense of everything she had told me. The more I learned, the more questions I had. What did she mean by memories? Were they stored physically in the temple, or were they something more intangible, like echoes of the past? And why had she chosen me to help her unlock them? What connection did I have to her people, to this place? Emma's eyes were fixed ahead, her expression unreadable as she navigated the maze of ancient corridors. She moved with a purpose, as if she had been here before, or perhaps had been preparing for this moment for longer than I could comprehend. Her movements were deliberate, and I could sense the weight of her thoughts, her past, in every step she took. At the end of the hall, a large stone door stood before us. It was unlike anything I had seen before, taller than any door I had encountered on Earth, with intricate carvings that seemed to shift and change depending on how the light hit them. Symbols and patterns swirled across the surface, some familiar, some foreign. I could feel a strange pull toward it, an undeniable urge to get closer. This is it, Emma said, her voice steady but laced with an edge of anticipation. This is where the key is hidden. The door was locked, but the mechanism wasn't like any lock I had ever seen. It didn't involve a key or a combination. It was more organic. A subtle shift of energy in the air, a pulse that seemed to resonate with something inside me. I felt it deep in my bones. It was as though the door recognized me, or perhaps it was testing me, waiting to see if I was worthy. I turned to Emma. How do we open it? Emma's eyes softened, her gaze lingering on the door for a moment before returning to me. You'll know when the time comes, Brian. The door won't open for just anyone. It requires someone who understands, who remembers. And I believe you are the one. I stared at her, my mind racing. I don't remember anything. I don't even know what's going on. What is it that I'm supposed to unlock? She stepped closer, her voice low and almost intimate. You're not alone in this, Brian. I'll be here with you. I'll help you find your way. Trust me. Trust. The word echoed in my mind. Trust wasn't something that came easily to me. I had always been a man of logic, a scientist who relied on facts and data to guide me. But now, faced with the inexplicable, I was being asked to place my faith in something intangible, something that went against everything I had ever believed. Still, there was something in her words, something in the way she said them, that made me want to believe her. I had seen the desperation in her eyes when she had spoken of her people's history. I had felt the weight of her loss, the burden of her past. And now, I could see that she wasn't just asking for my help out of some misplaced hope. She was asking because she knew that I was the only one who could truly understand. I reached out toward the door, hesitating for a brief moment before placing my hand on the smooth surface. The moment my fingers made contact, the pulse of energy returned, this time stronger, more insistent. My body tensed, and I felt the connection surge through me. It wasn't just a physical sensation, it was something deeper, something profound. A flood of images, emotions, and sensations filled my mind. The visions came in waves, crashing over me with a force I couldn't control. I saw flashes of ancient alien landscapes, vast cities, towering spires, and shimmering bodies of water. I saw the faces of Emma's people, their eyes filled with pride and hope. And then, There was the darkness, images of war, destruction, and betrayal. I saw Emma herself, standing in the middle of a battlefield, her face a mask of determination and grief. And then there was something else, a figure, familiar yet not. It was me, or someone who looked like me, standing beside Emma, fighting alongside her people. My heart raced as I saw myself wielding a weapon, my face hard with resolve. But then, just as quickly as the vision had appeared, it faded. My hand was still resting on the door, but the images had stopped. The energy pulsed again, and then there was silence. I pulled my hand away, my chest heaving as I tried to make sense of what I had just experienced. I turned to Emma, my voice hoarse. What was that? What did I just see? Emma's face had gone pale, her eyes wide with recognition. You saw it, didn't you? She whispered, almost to herself. The memories, they're starting to surface. It's you, Brian. You were there. I shook my head, disbelief clouding my thoughts. No, that wasn't me. I don't even know what I'm looking at. You do, Emma said softly, her voice filled with awe. You do know. It's all there, buried deep inside you. The memories, the connection. You're part of this. You're part of what happened to my people. I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. This was too much. My mind couldn't process it. I was just a human, a scientist from Earth. How could I be part of something like this? How could I be connected to Emma's people, to their history? Emma stepped closer, placing a hand on my shoulder. You don't have to understand it all at once, Brian, but it's happening. The door recognizes you because you're the key. The same way I am. The same way your people are. My breath hitched as I processed her words. You think I'm from here? From your world? From this history? Emma nodded. I think that's what we're going to find out. I think you've always been part of this. And now, it's time for you to remember. I stared at the door again, the strange energy still pulsing beneath the surface. I didn't understand any of it. I didn't understand how or why this was happening to me. But there was no denying the connection I felt. There was something inside me, something deep, that responded to this place, to the memories of a time long past. I reached out again, more confidently this time. The door shifted under my touch, the carvings glowing faintly in the dim light. Slowly, the door began to open, revealing a dark, ancient chamber beyond. It was as if the temple had been waiting for this moment, waiting for me to unlock it. Come on, Emma said, her voice steady but filled with excitement. We're not done yet. The truth is just beyond that door, and it's time we found it. With a deep breath, I stepped forward, crossing the threshold into the unknown. Together, we walked into the heart of the temple, where the secrets of the past, and perhaps the future, awaited us. The chamber beyond the door was vast, bigger than anything I had imagined. It was as if the heart of the temple had been designed to hold something enormous, something of unimaginable significance. The air inside felt different, almost sacred. The walls, which had once been solid and unmoving, seemed to hum with an energy that I could feel deep in my chest. The faint glow of ancient symbols traced the edges of the chamber, their light pulsating rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. Emma stepped forward without hesitation, her footsteps echoing in the silence. Her eyes were fixed ahead, as though she knew exactly where she was going, as if she had been here countless times before. But I couldn't shake the feeling that we were both walking into the unknown, into something neither of us fully understood. Stay close, Emma whispered, her voice barely audible over the humming energy that seemed to fill the room. This place is dangerous. It's not just a temple. It's a repository of all the knowledge, all the memories of my people. It's protected. I nodded, though the word dangerous sent a chill down my spine. What kind of danger could lie in a place meant to preserve knowledge? Was it just the power of the temple itself, or was something more sinister at play here? As we ventured deeper into the chamber, I noticed something strange. There were objects scattered around the room, relics of a bygone era. Some were alien artifacts, their shapes unlike anything I'd seen before. Others were more familiar, yet their use was impossible for me to discern. They were artifacts of a civilization long lost to time, pieces of history left behind in the hope that someday someone would find them and understand their significance. At the far end of the chamber stood an altar, a large stone platform, raised slightly above the floor. The surface was smooth, worn by the passage of countless years, but there was something about it that drew me in. It wasn't just the physical presence of the altar, it was the aura around it. It felt alive in a way that I couldn't explain. A deep, primal connection seemed to pulse from it, resonating with the energy of the temple itself. Emma's pace quickened as we approached the altar, and I could see her eyes glinting with a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. She was close to something, close to understanding what had happened to her people and what had driven them to war. But I could sense she was also afraid of what we might discover. "This is it," Emma said quietly, her voice reverberating through the chamber. "This is the heart of it all, the place where everything started." I stepped forward, my eyes fixed on the altar. There, resting in the center, was a crystalline object. It wasn't very large, about the size of a human heart, but the light that surrounded it made it seem much larger than it was. It pulsed with the same rhythmic energy that seemed to fill the entire room. And as I stepped closer, I felt a strange compulsion to reach out, to touch it. "This is the key," Emma said softly, as if she had been reading my thoughts. "The memories, the essence of who we were, the hope of my people." My heart pounded in my chest as I reached out toward the crystal. The moment my fingers brushed against it, a jolt of energy shot through my hand, up my arm, and into my chest. It was as though the entire history of Emma's people surged through me. Flashes of images, feelings, and memories bombarded my senses. The sensation was overwhelming, like being immersed in a flood of memories that weren't my own. I saw alien cities, brilliant and majestic, their towering spires reaching for the stars. I saw faces, thousands of faces, filled with pride, hope, and love. And then the war, the betrayal, the destruction. I saw Emma herself, her face tear-streaked, her eyes filled with sorrow as she stood in the wreckage of what had once been a symbol of unity. And through it all, I saw the same figure, the one I had seen before, standing beside Emma in battle. It was me. It was impossible, but it was me. I was there. I was part of this. I gasped, pulling my hand away from the crystal, my breath coming in shallow gasps. The room spun around me, the weight of the vision still clinging to my mind. "Brian," Emma's voice cut through the haze of images, her hand gently touching my arm. "Are you okay?" I nodded slowly, still trying to gather my thoughts. I saw it. I saw everything. It's all real. I was there, Emma." She didn't look surprised, though I could see the sorrow in her eyes. "I know," she whispered. "I've known it all along." The truth hung in the air between us, like an unspoken bond. The connection between me and her people, the war that had consumed them. It was all true. I wasn't just an outsider, a stranger who had stumbled into this conflict. I was part of it. I had been part of it. The memories were buried deep inside me, hidden from my conscious mind, but they were real, and I had to face them. I had to understand why I had been there, why I had fought alongside Emma's people, and why I had been forgotten. "I don't understand," I said, my voice shaking. "Why did I forget? Why did I leave?" Emma's gaze softened as she took a step closer. "Because the war changed everything, Brian. It erased memories. It erased who we were. People who had fought for peace, who had fought for unity, were twisted by the violence. They became someone else. And so did you. I think you were one of them. Someone who fought, someone who believed in the cause, but the war destroyed you too." I could feel the weight of her words pressing down on me. The idea that I had been someone different, that I had fought for something noble, only to be lost to the chaos of war. It was hard to comprehend. "What happens now?" I asked, my voice hoarse. Emma stood silently for a moment, her eyes fixed on the crystal. "Now we remember. We gather the memories of the past and bring them back. We show the people of my world who they were, who they are meant to be. And maybe, just maybe, we can find a way to stop this war." I looked at the crystal again. It wasn't just a key to the past. It was a key to the future. The future of Emma's people, and perhaps of mine as well. I had a role to play in this, whether I understood it fully or not. Let's do it, I said, my voice steady. Let's bring them back. Emma's eyes met mine, and for the first time since we had met, I saw a glimmer of hope in them. Together, she said. With that, she reached out to the crystal, and I did the same. As our hands made contact with its surface, the chamber erupted in light, and the memories of the past flooded in once more. The truth was within our grasp, and we were ready to face it. The light from the crystal enveloped us, its brilliance blinding yet strangely comforting. It was as though we were being bathed in the essence of the past, in the collective memories of Emma's people, of who they had once been and who they could be again. The air buzzed with energy, as if the very walls of the temple were alive with the force of the revelation. In that moment, I could feel the power of everything we had discovered. All the pain, the loss, the war, it was all part of something much greater. And yet, so was the hope. I held my breath as the light began to fade, leaving only the soft, pulsing glow of the crystal behind. Emma and I stood in the heart of the temple, hand in hand, each of us connected not only to each other, but to a vast, ancient history that was now ours to share. The chamber grew silent, the hum of energy receding like the final echo of a song. And in the quiet, there was a sense of completion, of something long sought finally coming to fruition. We did it, Emma said, her voice barely more than a whisper, but filled with an emotion I could not fully describe. We've unlocked the past, Brian. The truth is now out there, and with it, the hope for a new future. I turned to her, still trying to process the whirlwind of emotions, memories, and visions that had flooded my mind. But what now? What do we do with all of this? Emma smiled, a quiet, almost peaceful smile that was the first one I'd seen from her in a long time. Now we rebuild. We remember who we were, who we are, and who we can be. The war has torn my people apart, but we're not beyond saving. We have the knowledge, the strength, and now we have hope. I felt a stirring in my chest. Emma wasn't just talking about her people. She was talking about all of us, about the world that I had come from. Maybe we were all connected in ways I hadn't realized before. Maybe the conflict that had consumed her people, the war that had shaped her existence, was a reflection of a larger struggle. A struggle for peace, for unity, for understanding. It wasn't just a battle fought in the past. It was something we could face together in the present. You're right, I said softly, my voice filled with a newfound sense of clarity. We can't change what happened. We can't undo the past, but we can shape the future. We can learn from our mistakes and make sure they're never repeated. Emma nodded, her eyes bright with conviction. That's why you're here, Brian. You've always been part of this. You weren't just an outsider. You were someone who could help us see what we've lost and what we can gain. I took a deep breath, the weight of the moment settling in. I'm not sure I fully understand everything, I admitted, but I'm willing to try. For you, for your people, and for the future. Emma's smile grew wider, and she stepped closer to me. That's all we can ask. We can't expect to know everything at once, but we can take it one step at a time. I reached out, placing a hand on her shoulder, and for the first time, I felt at peace. We weren't alone in this. We had each other, and that was enough. Together, we had uncovered the truth. Together, we had unlocked the memories of the past. Now we could move forward, armed with the knowledge and wisdom to create something better. As the light of the crystal dimmed, the chamber around us began to shift. The ancient stone walls, once crumbling and forgotten, seemed to heal, their surfaces smoothing as if the temple itself was rejuvenating, responding to the energy we had released. It was a symbol, I realized, a symbol of rebirth. Emma glanced around, her eyes alight with wonder. Look at it, she said. The temple, it's coming back to life. It's as if it recognizes us, as if it knows that the time for destruction is over. I looked around, too, amazed by the transformation taking place. The dark shadows that had once dominated the room were now being replaced by a warm, golden glow. The symbols on the walls, those ancient, alien markings, now shimmered with light, no longer fading or fading away. It was as if the temple itself had been waiting for this moment of renewal. "We can rebuild everything," Emma said, her voice full of resolve. "We can bring my people back together. We can end the war and restore peace. And we can show the universe that we're not just a race of warriors, but of creators, of dreamers." I felt a surge of hope, unlike anything I'd ever felt before. "And we'll do it together," I said, squeezing her hand gently. "We'll bring everyone back together. No more war, no more destruction, just peace." Her eyes softened, and for a moment, it felt like time itself stood still. "Yes, together," she agreed, her voice carrying the weight of a promise. The journey we had started, the strange, unexpected path that had led us to this point, had been long and fraught with uncertainty. But in this moment, it felt as though everything had come full circle. The truth was no longer a burden, but a gift, one we would share with the world, one that would unite our people in a way we had never thought possible. As we turned to leave the temple, the golden light of the chamber continued to shine, casting a warm glow across the ruins. The doorway we had come through now stood open, bathed in light. Outside, the stars shimmered brightly in the sky, and the world seemed to hum with a new energy. The future, once uncertain and filled with darkness, now appeared full of possibility. A fresh start, a new beginning. We stepped out into the night, side by side, ready to face whatever came next. The memories of the past were now ours to carry, but we would not be defined by them. We would build something better, something greater. Together, we would heal the wounds of the past and shape a future filled with hope and peace. And so, as we walked forward into the unknown, I knew one thing for sure: the best was yet to come. Together, we were unstoppable,